Met an addict going late last night, talking about Wanoa, who's wrong, who's right. He says there's proof, says he's got the goods, but I've seen this before, I know these neighborhoods. Courtroom papers, clerk says no, slip in hand, but that's how it goes. They called it a win from their point of view, but that don't mean they were lying to you. He's not a scammer, no, he's not a fake. Don't twist the truth for the drama you make. If you're gonna claim, then show me the proof. Until then, your words are just more rooftop spoof. Then he pulled out Jason Law's receipt, said these are shares that ain't complete. I said, hang on, let me see that page, could be a placeholder, not some shady case. Sent my 25 back in the day, got it refunded when the shares couldn't stay. Name misspelled, bank shut the door, then the trolls came knocking, trying to settle the score. He's not a scammer, no, he's not a fake. Don't twist the truth for the drama you make. If you're gonna claim, then show me the proof. Until then, your words are just more rooftop spoof. Talk of veteran storming the gate, 4.3 million, that's just clickbait. I want myself to set the record clear, no marching orders, no scamming gear. 3 big claims but none hold tight, more smoke and mirrors than truth in sight. We'll see your footage, we'll see your doc, but until then it's just talk, talk, talk. He's not a scammer, no, he's not a fake. Don't twist the truth for the drama you make. If you're gonna claim, then show me the proof. Until then, your words are just more rooftop spoof. Not a scammer, no, not today, just another tale they're trying to play. Show me the facts, then maybe I'll sway. But till then, Wanoa's okay, Then he pulled out Jason Law's receipt, said these are shares that ain't complete. I said, hang on, let me see that page, could be a placeholder, not some shady page. I sent my 10 away back in the day, got it refunded when the shares didn't lock the door, then the trolls came knocking, trying to settle the score. I want myself to set the record good, could be a placeholder, not some shady cage. I sent my 25 back in the day, got it refunded when the shares couldn't stay. Name misspelled, bank shut the door, then the trolls came knocking, trying to settle the score. Talk of veterans storming the gate, 4.3 million, that's just clickbait. I want myself to set the record clear, no marching orders, no scamming gear.
Welcome everyone. Late night on the witching hour. So I would have liked to put up a poll. Do you agree with the new live facial recognition vans manned by Sussex and Surrey police officers? The Greens, Cian Berry for Brighton Pavilion MP. It is one of the most intrusive technologies imaginable. Crazy. Now something about the Thames PC. Thames PCs. What was that about today? Oh, he said something about the Thames PCC said you should help if you see someone shoplifting, you should help, the store by stopping the crime. Yeah. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because of course there are some crimes if you stumble across that of course you would step in, wouldn't you? So as police boss urges public to help stop shoplifters. I'll share the screen. And of course, we'll go over the latest in with the Den Tarragon. I just want to get it on record for we can come to Den in a moment, but I'll get that ready, sorted. Yeah, I mean, look, to be continued with Matt after serving up evidence he wasn't aware of, and then he turns out from Andy Devine clarifying a certain matter that evidence wasn't even there in the first place, and so this is turning in to be a very interesting, an interesting developing story. But first of all, let me share you the screen for this police crime commissioner who says the public should help stop shoplifting. And of course, it makes you ask the obvious question of what other crimes would you naturally step into? I mean, if I saw someone being beaten up, you'd like to think you'd step in, wouldn't you? Or indeed, anything more serious than assault. So, yes, where are we then? Police boss urges public to help stop shoplifters. The public should be doing more to help shoplifters rather than just relying on the police. The Thames Valley Police and Crime Commissioner has said. Do you agree with that? I mean, that's one of the. I'd like to put up a poll, really. Should the public be doing more to stop shoplifting rather than just relying on the police? I mean, what obligation have you got to the supermarket? And especially if you're putting yourself in danger of being thumped by the shoplifter. I mean, I personally think it's a big ask. But that's the kind of the poll I would have liked to have put up. And one of the most intrusive technologies imaginable. Let's read this. An MP has slammed the police's introduction of live facial recognition technology as pure dystopia. Can you believe it? This comes after recent government overhaul of neighbourhood policing. Green MP Cyan, it's spelled S-I-A-N, so no doubt I'm mispronouncing it. Berry for Brighton Pavilion slammed the initiative and said that she does not want the technology used anywhere in my city. And so, this Berry, Green MP for Brighton Pavilion, is she worth getting behind? Is it worth helping her out? She says it is one of the most intrusive technologies imaginable. She said she does not want the technology used anywhere in my city. Expanding police live facial recognition vans to new areas, which include Sussex, without MPs ever debating new laws for using this technology, is pure dystopia. So this is something that hasn't even been agreed upon in Parliament, and they want to roll it out in Sussex. Technology will be deployed to catch high harm offenders, with new rules drawn up to support its use and ensure safeguards and oversight, the Home Office said. Some 10 vans equipped with cameras will be rolled out across 7 police forces. So this is nationwide, pretty much, north to south. Greater Manchester, West Yorkshire, Bedfordshire, Surrey, Sussex, Thames Valley and Hampshire over the coming weeks. Wow, crikey. I mean, are you with the Green MP, Berry of Brighton Pavilion, who calls this dystopian, who calls this pure dystopia? He says it's the most intrusive technologies imaginable. Well, guess what? It's coming to Greater Manchester, West Yorkshire, Bedfordshire, Surrey, Sussex, Thames Valley, and Hampshire. A task force is in place across Sussex and Surrey police forces to manage the launch of the vans this winter. I can't say any more. Can't say any more. You know, pretty shocking, really. Okay, so may as well bring up last night's 10 to Den Tarragon. The update was left by a comment by Andy, which said it's not Simon Lord. It's it's not just Jason Law. It's Jason War, and he never paid any money. Nathan Kirkton lied. I spoke with Jason War, and he confirmed Kirkton was lying. So it will appear. Let me share the screen. It would appear that Den Tarragon got that information. Hang on. Oh, no, I can't seem to. Oh, no, there it is, yeah. And then let me let's go to the I'll read out the message from Andy. It said it's not Jason Law, it's Jason War, and he never paid any money. Nathan Kirkland lied. If you remember when Nathan Kirkland tried to get me to hit him in London so his delinquents could citizen arrest me, he blabbed it out about Jason War. And on the same live stream, I spoke with Jason War, and he confirmed Kirkland was lying. That was the same time Nathan Kirkland revealed John Wanoa was arrested by police at the airport, and he's been subjected to a psychological assessment because they had a psychiatrist with them. The thing is, John Wanoa hadn't told anyone about it, not even me. Then I hear that later on that Tranny Jones, or Danny Jones, whatever his name is, said he found out from one of his mates at the airport and told him. I'll leave you to make your own mind up on that situation. There are plenty of witnesses to the facts in capital letters I've just asserted. So that's the update. And then we go and see how that changes. I mean, key evidence collapses. Den's claims about the share sale is now undermined. If the central figure never paid any money, there is no sale, no share, and therefore no potential scam in this instance. The document then intends to present as proof may no longer hold any evidential value. It's just been undermined. The revelation suggests that Den's evidence pipeline may rely on individuals like Nathan Kirkland, who Andy Devine alleges has lied and engaged in deliberate provocation. If Den is building his accusations on the word of unreliable sources, it casts doubt on all three pillars of his case. Pattern of misinformation. This isn't just a factual error. It shows a pattern where misinformation is presented as fact, amplified, and weaponized against Wanoa and his supporters. For Den, this means his argument is now weakened by association with those who may be deliberately distorting events. Narrative control at risk. Den's stance depends heavily on these examples holding up under scrutiny. With one collapsing, the other two come under greater pressure to stand up to factual examination. The credibility blow here forces Den either to double down, risking further exposure, or retract, adjust his claims, damaging his authority among his followers. The bottom line is that if Andy Devine's statement is accurate, then Tarragon's second piece of evidence against John Wanoa has been rendered invalid. This not only erodes the strength of his overall argument, but also exposes a deeper problem. Reliance on questionable sources like Nathan Kirkland, whose motives and truthfulness are under serious challenge. So this is about making sense of it all. The full story on Den Tarragon's claims about John Wanoa. So as we all know, and what we're talking about, last night I entered into a conversation with Den over his repeated claims that John Wanoa is a scammer. Den put forward 3 pieces of evidence which he argued proved his point. Now I've addressed each in detail, and now, thanks to new information from Andrew Devine, one of Den's key claims has completely collapsed. So the first claim, just to recap, was the London court paperwork incident. So it was Den's claim that John Wanoa, Lee Khan and supporters lied about successfully lodging court papers in London against the Queen and her judicial system, portraying the event as a victory when paperwork was never formally accepted. As I said during our discussion with Den, I see this as a red herring. The group involved believed the event was a success, an interpretation, not a deliberate lie. People can witness the same event and interpret it differently, influenced by their own perspective and biases. So the status means that Den has promised to release the footage so others can decide for themselves. Until then, the point remains subjective and certainly does not prove that Wanoa is a scammer. Now, this is the most interesting one, of course, and the most valid. The Justin, not Law, that was my mistake, but the Justin War. And it's now been debunked. A receipt or share certificate from Jason War, who I mistakenly put down as Law, proves that shares were sold in Wanoa's venture without being legally issued. An act then says constitutes fraud. Okay, I'll actually reread that. So it was Den's claim that this, let me read it. A receipt or share certificate from Jason War proves that shares were sold in John Wanoa's venture without being legally issued. An act then says constitutes fraud. My response was to agree that if someone sold non-existent shares for money, that would be wrong. However, I wanted to see the document before making my judgment, noting it could be a placeholder until shares were formally available. From my own dealings, I once sent £25 to Wanoa for a share, only to have it refunded because no shares were ready. And so this is what we mean by debunking Andy Devine's update, which I read out at the start. But the takeaway is that Andy clarified one particular point. Firstly, that I got his name wrong, but secondly, Jason Waugh never paid any money. Let me let that sink in, because this is an integral part, well, number 2 of Den Tarragon's claims that John Wanoa is a scammer. Number 2 of Den Tarragon's case against Wanoa was that Jason Waugh purchased a £25 share, and that's been called into question from a primary source who spoke to Jason Waugh himself. And Jason Waugh says he never paid any money. So there was no sale, no share, there was no potential scam in this instant. This revelation also damages the credibility of Den's sources, as Andrew alleges that the originator of this story, Nathan Kirkton, has a track record of provocation and dishonesty. And then, of course, Den Tarragon's ludicrous third claim was that, that the alleged plan to have veterans storm Parliament. So it was Den's claim that John Wanoa and his King's Flag membership were trying to get the Britain's 4.3 million veterans to storm Parliament, each being a potential target to pay £25 for a share. I mean, my response that this claim is baseless and absurd. Neither Wanoa nor his supporters made any such call to action. In fact, I attended the Veterans Weekend in June 2019, specifically to assure the leadership, Dean Cumberbatch and Simon Bean, that Wanoa is not a scammer, contrary to what they were hearing from Den Tarragon, Nathan Kirkton, Gary Clark, Danny Jones, AJ Lashbrook, and others. So what this means for Den's argument: one of his 3 proofs is now invalid. The share sale claim collapses with Andrew Devine's clarification. This removes a central plank of Den's case. Source of credibility is damaged. If Den's evidence relies on individuals like Nathan Kirkton, who Andrew accuses of lying and deliberate provocation, then all associated claims are tainted. The remaining claims are weak. The court paper dispute is open to interpretation, not proof or fraud. The veteran's claim is without foundation. Overall narrative falls apart. With one point gone and the others shaky, Den's scammer narrative about John Wanoa is now without credible evidence. Okay, and I think that is worthy of repeating. Den's scammer narrative about John Wanoa is now without credible evidence. The conclusion is, after reviewing Den Tarragon's 3 main claims and factoring in Andrew Devine's new statement, the picture is clear. Court paperwork incident, interpretation, not deception. The share certificate claim now disproven. No money changed hands. No share sold. The veteran storm in Parliament, fabricated and baseless. In short, Den's case against John Wanoa does not hold up. And moving forward, the release of any promised documents or footage will be examined carefully. But as things stand, the scammer accusation is of no factual foundation. And I think everyone would agree with that. And there is only one more thing to show you, which I'd like to bring to your attention, which can be found at the Gospel of Matt Taylor. Let me share with you now. And it's a recognition of how far we've come now, essentially. We've got Shelley Moat, who herself used to be an ally of James Hind, And this is truth. This is what I meant from yesterday when I said fact, where more than two people through their five senses can come to a consensus through the five senses of sight, smell, touch, hear, and speaking. So, you know, and all respect to Den Tarragon and Shelley Moat for speaking out. Just speaking out for the little old truth. That's all it is. It's just some things are facts which everyone agrees on, and that one of those facts is whether you're convicted or not, whether you're convicted of a despicable crime or not. That at its very central is what defines society. And so fair dues to Shelley, who says, I don't see eye to eye with Matt, but he has no convictions for child abuse. He don't help himself, but he does indeed have a very prolific trolling group targeting him. And that's what I want you to take home. He does indeed have a very prolific trolling group targeting him. Then Tarragon confers, indeed, yet Danny Jones and co ran with him being convicted. Hello, Danger Mouse. Matt, your false versions of things doesn't make it truth. It's all bullshit. Well, there you go. That's a member. Danger Mouse is a member of the very prolific trolling group that has been targeting me, and it couldn't have been better timed. Hello, Lenny. Hello, Matt. Just see your life. I'm not getting notifications. What does that mean? For real, what does that mean? What's going on out there? But listen, it gave me this time and space just to get through what I wanted to get through. And I mean, what do you make? Did you catch me when I was talking about the new facial recognition fans going out across the country? Let me just read this. Not being charged or convicted or anything doesn't mean one is truly guilty. Thank you ever so much. Actually, I meant innocent. Well, make up what you mean. Wake up what you mean and then get back to me. But yes, so this new live facial recognition vans will help police in Sussex and Surrey to locate the most serious criminals. And it's going to be from Greater Manchester to Yorkshire, West Yorkshire, Bedfordshire, Surrey, Sussex, Thames Valley and Hampshire. 10 vans or more will be equipped with cameras, of which the Green MP in Brighton Pavilion says is pure dystopia. Said it is one of the most intrusive technologies imaginable. And none of this has even gone through Parliament. So how do you feel about that? And then another story I was looking at was, should the public stop shoplifters rather than just relying on the police? So the Thames Valley Police and Crime Commissioner Matthew Barber said everyone had a responsibility to help if people wanted to live in a safe and prosperous society, and that would not necessarily involve physical intervention. He did make the point of that. I mean, you could really say to a shoplifter, now, don't be doing that. That ain't nice, because you're just pushing up the prices for all of us. And I suppose, you know, there's nothing wrong in that. Tutting, pointing a finger and going, oh, look, he's shoplifting. He's making us all pay more at the till. Over to Lenny. What's going on in the streets in Brighton? I don't know. Do you know, I've been out. I've been out by the cliffs with my son fishing. Don't tell Jake. O.J. Simpson murdered 2 people with a knife, but bought his freedom. A prime example of a broken system and toxic celebrity worship, which seems worse than ever in the internet age. And that reminded me of something. Yeah, thanks for that comment, Lenny. It's really insightful. And that reminded me, I was thinking today, I'd like to go down and list all the BBC presenters who have been, you know, exposed as very dangerous people. And I think there was even one children's presenter who was done for raping his dog, or graping his dog, as we seem to say on YouTube. Oh. Okay, yeah, that's fair enough, but he wasn't a scammer. You can, and that's cool. I'm totally okay with that. Danger Mouse saying John was deluded and mental. There was no chance of his plan succeeding. You've got every right to have that opinion about another person. You know, that's fine. But he wasn't a scammer, because no one was defrauded, no one was scammed. And so, you know, I can turn this, in fact, I will turn this into the fact that Den Tarragon, Danny Jones, AJ Lashbrook, Gary Clark and Nathan Kirkton all started the King's Flags hoax, the King's Flag scam hoax. Lenny says, Matt, no cashier on minimum wage wants their teeth knocked in. But yeah, that also, but this Matthew Barber, the Thames Valley Police Crime Commissioner, said that the public should be stepping in, but not physically. You know what I mean? So yes, so here's the list. Saville, right? Saville, Rolf Harris. Wasn't that Stewart guy who done the champion knockout special? Hugh Edwards, yes. Hugh Edwards. J Blades, that's something I'll have to look at. I mean, couldn't you argue that Philip Schofield? I think he started in the BBC, didn't he? Philip Schofield. And couldn't you add you know, Big Brother, Jonathan Barry, well, you know, I can't get his name. It's so irrelevant. Either way. So I think I've addressed that with Den. Thanks for joining me last night, Lenny. It was good to have your company. So basically, the latest from Andy Devine is that this Jason War didn't send any money. So there's no share, no sell, no crime, no scam. There seems to be a complete erosion of basic respect out there. It's depressing, just sad for everyone. Well, that's quite... Yeah, I don't know. I suppose you've got to rely on family at that point, don't you? If you can't trust the public around you, you just got to kind of hunker in and just interact with the people you know. But you know, I'm down by the south of the coast. Everyone on the beach. Everyone's got a smile for themselves. So, I was just going to talk about Den. No problem. Den seemed to want to exhaust you with the same arguments on Wanoa. I put it down to 3. The 3 arguments were like the London court paper, That's just rubbish. Like a red herring, I said. The Jason War shell certificate claim, which turns out to be bullshit. And then, getting the veterans to storm Parliament. I mean, it's pretty loose stuff. It's pretty vague, and none of that stinks. It sticks. It was more bullshit than a claim with John. Some people gave money to the insanity, and that was fine. And and everyone is willing and free to do so. And I would have gone along with that narrative. I would have said, yeah, call him mad, But to call him a scam, that isn't right. That's elderly abuse. If you're going to start indulging in elderly abuse and looking away from elderly abuse, that means you'll be looking away from child abuse. And you'll be looking away from everything. And then that's when we get to this, Harry. That's when we get to the complete erosion of basic respect. And that's when it's depressing and sad for everyone, because people like you are out there. You are the type of character who are bringing us down. Honestly, I'm not impressed. I spoke to my son today, and I said, fair dues to your son, to you, son. You are more of a man than the men out there. So my lad is more of a man than you, Harry. And that says a lot for my son, and it says a lot for you. And that, I read everything that happened last night. I had it all recorded, that chat, and I isolated your comments, Harry, and I read exactly what you were doing. And a big shout out for True England. She didn't have to defend me. And in fact, come to think of it, and Den is a good character of that. Not so much character, a good example. Just look at all the people who defend me and the shit they come under. And that's why I've got to shout out for Den. He's going, well, no, he's not convicted. So just, we're going to stop going down that path. And he's now being called a pedo protector on every other live. And it's people like you, Harry. It's people like you. It's people like you who contribute to the complete erosion of basic respect, because you've respected no one out there. The way you came in and hit me, you were a part of that very prolific trolling group targeting me. Yeah, you were one of them. You said the third one was storming of Parliament, which has ethos of the Ben Fellow psyop of a certain ex-pop crooner and a self-proclaimed psychopath. There you go. And all that was swirling around in the background as well. And a lot of the veterans were influenced by the people, you're talking about, the Bill Maloney's, the John Wedger. I mean, I don't know for sure, I'm only surmising, but I'm sure John Wedger has got a big following within the veterans. And that was that whole climate. We had kind of David Icke, Kevin Annett, we had Bill Maloney, John Wedger. It was all hitting the fan. And in the middle of that comes John Wanoa. I just thought, hey, he's the final piece of the jigsaw. I was wrapping my hands, going, let's have some fireworks. And I am going to dig into this, because I am going to accuse Nathan Kirkton, Danny Jones, AJ Lashbrook, Nathan Kirkton, Gary Clark, and others of the King's Flag scam hoax. And I'll put out exactly what they said and done to sabotage John Wanoa without any proof or any evidence, except speculative bullshit, as Harry so eloquently reminds us. I know you may not be a fan of Wendy Wu, but she is right. Idiots online who don't agree keep calling everyone a paedophile, and it's absolutely stupid. Absolutely. And that's what goes in with my comment about my son is more of a man than Harry, for example. You know, my son is more of a, and he's always has been more of a man, even as a toddler, because his advice would just be, just ignore it. So yeah, I think we're ready to put the king's flag to bed. Quite frankly, and there's a lot of people who will owe John Wanoa an apology. I mean, what I found a bit cheeky was when Den Tarragon said, "To be continued with Matt after serving up evidence he wasn't aware of." What, you mean serving up evidence that's just been debunked and is worthless? I thought that was a bit cheeky of him. That made me laugh. What, cheeky? Cheeky. Matt, you've been a victim of ghosting or cut-off culture, or have you had to lose a friend because they were rude and awful due to their drinking personality? Well, no, I haven't had anyone awful. No, I haven't. Matt, have you been a victim of ghosting? No, that's a no. Or cut-off culture? No. Or have you had to lose a friend because they were rude? No. Or awful due to drinking personality? No. But I did have to kind of cut off all my childhood friends to carry on this journey down a rabbit hole. And I imagine I don't need to really explain myself further, but I get the impression a lot of people would understand what I mean by that. You know, I think the friends made their boundary because they were scientists and they were getting their money directly from the Rothschilds. But when I brought the Rothschilds into everything, they said, "No, that's enough now. That's enough. We're not going to tolerate anymore." And so, yeah, painfully and regrettably, I had to say goodbye to all my childhood friends. Met's thoughts on Australia's recognising Palestine as a state. Wonderful news, isn't it? I just hope more people do as well. Poor Gaza. I mean, it breaks the heart. Matt's thoughts on the rare doomsday oarfish being found on a beach in Tasmania. No, I wasn't aware of it. But what I am aware is that tuna has been spotted off the south coast, and a lot of species of fish that wouldn't normally be fit, you know, in our waters are in our waters, and one such creature is the octopus. All the soldiers had it. Oh, yes, I know, Harry. You know, you don't have to tell me anything I don't already know. I mean, of course, the issues on the Veterans Weekend was, number one, the suicide rate. That's always been an issue for the soldiers. Number two, that prosecutions were still coming from Northern Ireland. And that's what really rolled up the veterans. And of course, it comes into, you know, the homeless veterans who have been left on the street when other minorities were being put up in hotels with breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But, you know, I'm not really going to go on to that point. But listen, everyone, I pretty much wanted to go through the facial recognition. I was hoping to put up a poll. So we've got live facial recognition cameras, vans going out across the UK, from Greater Manchester, West Yorkshire, Bedfordshire, Surrey, Sussex, Thames Valley, and Hampshire. this coming weeks. And if you're a wanted man, let's put it this way: if you're a wanted man, you're going to be caught. I know, it's dreadful, isn't it? I mean, I was watching a live feed from Gaza today, and it's just such a it's just another location which are just going through hell, and it's man-made hell. And the reality in Gaza is just a reality none of us could ever imagine or even believe could exist. But yet these people are enduring it, and that was another subject which I strongly disagreed. Den Tarragon, you know, I disagreed with it so strongly I made a song about it, yeah. And how you're saying fuck the kids, fuck the Gaza kids. Who cares about the Gaza kids? You know, let's just look after the Brits. And I found that very distasteful. You know, in the 22nd, 24, whatever it is, you know, I think it may be the 22nd, isn't it? Either way, in this day and age, and we're allowing children anywhere in the world to kind of like be blown up and then die of nutrition. That ain't going to get us into the Galactic Federation. You know what I mean? You know, if God wants to judge whether we're civilized, that civilized box isn't going to be ticked by anyone soon. I think it's a fucking barbaric. It's barbaric. War is a barbaric, you know, pastime of yesteryear. And now, of course, I mean, I understand in the days of King Arthur, war was necessary to maintain a country. You know, great things are forged in the hells of fire. But now in the 22nd century, when we're a global society in which information is instant and travel is, you know, faster than ever before in a human development, I understand that China is making a new hypersonic tube system, which Elon Musk recommends America does the same. In this day and age of technology and wonder and splendor, to allow a child anywhere in the world to go hungry is not civilized. And we as a global community should be disgusted in ourselves. And to hear Den Tarragon so flippantly, I don't give a fuck about kids in Gaza, that was very distressing and very unbecoming. Hey, listen, you know, anyone joining us now, you've missed the gist of missed the gist. And I'm thinking, well, look, it's only 10 more minutes until 1 o'clock. And so I'll go the extra 10. I'll go the extra 10. So, I mean, how do you feel about this facial recognition going up? The Green MP for Brighton says it's pure dystopia, that it is one of the most intrusive technologies imaginable. And she said she does not want this technology used anywhere in the city. So we've got a showdown, haven't we? We've got a showdown between MP Berry for Brighton Pavilion and the police force in Sussex. But you've got to be aware that it's been rolled out from Greater Manchester to Hampshire, to London, to Yorkshire, Bedfordshire. You know, this is, and without any parliamentary discussion. But then the good news, and there's always good news, the most serious criminals, the most wanted individuals will be identified and taken out of, you know, public. And that may be a good thing. You've got to see it from both sides, you know. But then again, the worry in all this dystopia is that the technology gets abused, misused, used for nefarious ends. That's the concern. either way, for how I see it, is that it's going to happen, mate, and there's nothing I can do about it. And all I can do about it is keep my nose clean. Is not to commit the law, be a law-abiding citizen, and get the credits. You know what I mean? Over to Lenny. He says, "Is the average Israel on supporting this atrocity? Do they care how low Netanyahu has taken them? Clearly not. Well, they do. They do, actually. You'll be surprised, as I was, with how much opposition there is to Netanyahu and how often the Israeli people take to the streets condemning what's happening. In fact, if you can say who are the most vocal critics of Netanyahu, it's actually the Israeli people. Yeah. And just as, Israel is getting slammed by the UN not to let them in to feed the children. Let me just read what Lenny says. Matt, would Iran having nukes concern you? Well, for me, it concerns me that Russia's got nukes. It concerns me that England's got nukes. The concern about Iran having nukes is way down the list, mate. I'm concerned America, China, India, Pakistan. I think let's worry about them first of all. It's mad. It's the mutually assured destruction, and that's what's keeping everyone in the game. And then I've got my son, talking to me as I remember talking to myself at that age, thinking, God, if a nuclear bomb goes off, I've got 3 minutes to get home. And now my son is fearing the same thing with developments between America and Russia. Who's warmongering here? Who's warmongering here? Yet Netanyahu's right-wing government remains in power and murders indiscriminately. There you go. There you go. And it's whoever's got the guns. It's whoever have got the guns. And that's the arms industry. Whoever can buy them. If you're a weaker person, off you go, ski. In fact, I think what Israel illustrates is humanity's bare rawness of this is how low it goes. You can see it playing out, but you can't actually, because no press are allowed in. It's it's horrific. It's horror, and we're never going to get anywhere when we allow this as a global community. And when you got people like Den Tarragon go, fuck the kids in Gaza, I don't give a shit. The status quo remains. I can remember just about September the 1st, there was a media write-ups that Al Qaeda were attempting to create a DIY nuke or dirty bomb. Remember the shoe bomber, Richard Reed, like you said, it's all, if you would ask Chris Spivey, he'd say all this is fabricated. Everything we see on TV is a fabrication, is a fear system, is a thought up, imagined fear system in which we are being fed by the ones who feed us, the ones in control. Because we certainly don't know who they are. But I tell you, they know who we are. You can bet that. And now they're rolling out the live facial recognition vans from Greater Manchester to Yorkshire to the Thames Valley to Hampshire to Bedfordshire, Sussex and Surrey. But on the plus side, it will catch the most wanted. It will get the most wanted, the most dangerous criminals off the street. And it was a reminder to everyone that if you don't maintain the law-abiding citizen category, you too will be pointed out in public and nabbed off the streets at the discretion of the king or any interest groups that are controlling those who control us. It's deep, man. It's deep, and like I said, I've lost my friends over it. Let me assure you. Well, listen, everyone, we're coming up to an hour. Thanks ever so much for joining me. I like to think I've expressed what I wanted to express. I've gone over the new evidence from Andy Devine that pretty much debunks the whole story, that Den Tarragon's whole argument. And so very much appreciated to you, Lenny, for joining us last night and hearing that. I do want to point out a comment by Shelley Moat. I don't see eye to eye with Matt, but he has no convictions for child abuse. He doesn't help himself, but he does indeed have a very prolific trolling group targeting him. Then Tarragon replied, indeed, yet Danny Jones and co ran with him being convicted. Naughty, naughty. Andrew Devine. This is the latest comment from Andrew Devine that debunks number 2 of AJ's contention, or evidence, so to speak, that John Wanoa is a scammer. Andy Devine says it's not. He actually corrects me. So it's not Jason Law, it's Jason War, and he never paid any money. Nathan Kirkton lied. If you remember when Nathan Kirkton tried to get me to hit him in London, so as delinquents could citizen arrest me, he blabbed it out about Jason War, and on the same live stream I spoke with Jason War and he confirmed Kirkton was lying. That was the same Nathan Kirkton revealed that John Wanoa was arrested by police at the airport, and he's been subjected to a psychological assessment because they had a psychiatrist with them. The thing is, John Wanoa hadn't told anyone about it, not even me. Then I heard that later on that Tranny Jones, or Danny Jones, or whatever his name is found out from one of his mates at the airport and told him. I'll leave you to make your own mind up on that situation. There are plenty of witnesses to the facts I have stated. I mean, actually, to correct Andy Devine now on live, when Andy Devine implies that Danny Jones found out from one of his mates at the airport, that's actually incorrect, because the telephone conversation between Danny Jones and Den Tarragon reveals that it was Danny Jones who rang his mate in London at Heathrow. In fact, what I can quickly do, just to finish this off, is play that recording. And I think it's clear now that Danny Jones led a hoax against our community.
Question: why did that make any difference what airport it was? I've already asked the question, you answer it.
Because I've got no friends in Birmingham Airport or Manchester Airport or Liverpool Airport. Well, I've got friends in fucking Heathrow Airport. That's why. That's why it made a difference. Is that hard for you to understand?
So you're admitting that you knew 24 hours in advance before King Custody got here that he was going to get took into custody, yeah?
Yep.
Okay. No, that's fine, Danny. You should be that.
I've always been honest, Rick, but you can't fucking handle the truth, mate. You know what? Look at the video last bullet. You can't handle the truth. Simple as that. It fucks your brain up because of all your psychotic fucking paranoia thoughts and grey areas that you've filled in with shite. You can't handle when someone actually tells you the truth going on. It fucks your brain up.
The thing is, Danny, when Andy Devine and stuff like that pick up on things like this, you're going to put 2 and 2 together.
I don't give a fuck about Andy Devine. I don't give a fuck about you either. I don't give a shit. I had friends, and I've answered this to Andy Devine. I've answered this to you. I've answered this to fucking Gary. I've answered this on my channel, on my fucking YouTube channel. The answer is in a video format on my channel. I knew that he was coming to Heathrow because Andy Devine admitted he was coming to fly in. I got mates in Heathrow who work in custom and excise. So I told them, I sent a video, what's with this man? You know what they did? They got him. They pulled him in straight away and sent him fucking back home. Sorry, lock me up. It's more than you fucking did.
It's fine.
It's not fine.
It's fine, Lenny. It's fine.
It's
These are the
not fine.
right answers that I wanted, so that's fine. That's why I'm not saying anything back.
But you got nothing to say from that, because that's the truth, and you can't answer. What are you going to come back with? You've done fuck all. I've done something. Is that hurt you or something? Piss you off? I've done something you ain't.
You've done something illegal.
Far from that, Lenny. I'm happy with that answer. That's fine.
Oh, well, thank you. Do I get a gold star?
This is crazy.
It's in the post. I've got your postcode now, mate.
Congratulating themselves for sabotaging John Wanoa. How sick is that? But of course, from how sick is that to how sick is that? And I agree, Lenny. Just wrapping it up. Some of the IDF soldiers are looking at themselves. They can't live with the atrocities they're participating in. The genocide of Gaza is online, and people haven't seen it. There you go. I was watching that myself. And that's the human condition. Killing people is not the human condition. That's the arms fair conditioning. Shooting adolescent boys in private parts on purpose. The surgeons in Gaza are coming back with these reports. And each day they change the part of the body. One day they're coming in with adolescent boys like shot in the parts, in their private parts. Other days, middle-aged men shot in their throats. Others in their stomach. And we're hearing this from the surgeons. Yeah. And look, we're going to end on that, okay? Real journalism is about the truth. And I'm telling you the truth about everyone who was calling John Wanoa out as a scammer. That was a scam hoax orchestrated by Danny Jones, Den Terragon, AJ Lashbrook, Nathan Kirkman, Gary Clark, and many more. So on that note, I'm going to say good night. The world is watching. Wow.